I want to talk now about selling on non-price issues. Some years ago, I found that there was an entire industry of professionals who taught companies that sold expensive products and services how to position against competition. I also found that top salespeople sell more expensive products and services, and they sell them all day long. So I really want to focus now about more ideas on how to sell on non-price issues. What we find is that price arises early in almost every sales conversation. How much is it? But price is seldom the reason that the customer buys or refuses to buy. If low price were the major reason for buying decisions, nothing of higher price or quality would ever be sold. Nobody would buy expensive cars or expensive watches or expensive homes or expensive clothes. So obviously, price is not the key concern. The key is to find out the non-price reasons why people buy and emphasize those in your sales conversation with a customer. Now, the very best and highest paid salespeople are those who sell on the basis of value and quality and utility, which means higher value for the product, better quality, more usefulness for the product, dependability, the product lasts longer and better, service, the company follows up and services the product or service better, reputation, the company has a better reputation in the marketplace for satisfying customers, and other factors, rather than basing the sales conversation on convincing the prospect that they offer the lowest price. Interestingly enough, by the way, every year the companies that advertise, we have the lowest price, we have the lowest price, every year they go bankrupt. Every year you see them go out of business at the lowest price because they simply can't earn enough to make their customers happy. Now, in this session, you're going to learn the key strategies for selling based on the real issues that cause people to buy. So as we said, price arises early in almost every sale of importance. Price is an important issue, but it's only one of several issues. According to the research, 94% of sales in America are determined by issues other than price, and your job is to find out what they are. Only 6% of sales are based solely on price, and these are for commodities. And even commodities can be differentiated in price from each other, like gasoline. It sells for different prices in the same station, pumped out of the same tank under the ground. It sells for a higher price if it's full service, a lower price if it's self-service, a different price if it's cash payment, sometimes a different price if it's credit card payment, and so on. Same product, 3 or 4 different prices. Now, the key job of the salesperson is to differentiate his or her product or service from the competition. Your job is to show that your product or service is better, superior, excellent, more desirable than your competition products. Why? It's because that is the reason people buy. Now, there are 7 attributes that are more important to price when it comes to making a buying decision for what you sell. And let's talk about them in turn. Number 1 is quality. Now, quality means the suitability of the product to the customer. It means that the product or service that you sell conforms to the customer's standards and requirements. Is they like it. It's the right product for them. A second factor that's more important than price is delivery. Is fast, dependable, predictable delivery, consistent over and over again, is essential to building value. I'll give you an example. Tom Monahan, as a young man, started Domino's Pizza, guaranteeing that pizza would be delivered within 30 minutes or there'd be no cost. He built an 8,000 pizza restaurant empire around the world and retired one of the richest men in the world because he focused on speed of delivery and predictability rather than price or actual quality. Another factor that's more important than price is installation. Installing the product with security, worry-free, time-saving. It's amazing, just recently, my pool people, the people that clean my pool, came to me and offered to install a completely brand new computer-generated system that enabled me to do everything I needed to do with my pool by just pushing a couple of buttons on a new control. It was expensive, but they offered to put it in, to guarantee it, and it would be worry-free and time-saving for me and for subsequent owners of my house for the next 25 years. It was worth the extra money because they offered to take care of everything for me. Now, another attribute more important than price is service. Helpfulness, speed, dependability. When you need something, you can get it done quickly and it's dependable. Around the corner from us here, there is a store called Discount Tire. Now, Discount Tire has become one of the most popular stores in the entire county, and I even have friends who drive 100 miles from Los Angeles all the way to San Diego to go to this company to have them replace their tires, balance their tires, rotate their tires, because they are the most wonderful company to deal with. They have great prices. If they don't have the tire, they will have it available within 24 hours. They will get it somewhere. So you can basically trust everything you need for tires to this company for the rest of your life. And it's quick, it's convenient, it's dependable, it has good prices. And this company is thriving even in an economic downturn. How could you make your services so good that people would prefer to deal with you rather than with someone else? Now, another non-price factor is terms. Simplicity of down payments, simplicity of billing, simplicity of interest rates, so it's easy for people to buy your product or service. I have a good friend who had a business and he was selling a product for $295. And he decided to change his billing method and terms, and he would charge $100 down and the balance over 6 months. So it was basically $35 a month over 6 months for the balance. You know, his sales went up 10 times in the next year because he made it easy for people to buy and easy for people to pay. I'll give you another example. There's a Swedish company called Gefalia. Now, Gefalia is a coffee company, and they manufacture a very high quality coffee. And what they do is they sell via direct mail and internet, and they say, sign up for our service. We will send you a coffee maker and 4 pounds of absolutely beautiful coffee every month at a very reasonable price. They've become one of the most successful companies in the world because the price is debited to your credit card. Every month you get 4 different types of coffee that are beautiful and delicious. The prices are reasonable, and the coffee arrives like clockwork every month. They now have hundreds of thousands and millions of users. They're one of the most successful coffee companies in the world because they make it so easy to buy from them. Another non-price factor is follow-up support, trouble-free ownership. I'll give you a simple example. People buy something and they say, we guarantee our product unconditionally for 3 years. There's no cost. If ever you have a problem of any kind, we will fix it, we will repair it, we will replace it. Some years ago, I bought a Dell computer. My son told me that Dell computer had the best customer service of any computer company. I bought a Dell computer and there was a problem with the computer. So we called Dell. They immediately sent someone to pick up the computer that had a problem. They paid for the entire shipping and transportation. They replaced the computer with a brand new computer and they upgraded the software at no extra charge. We were just astonished. And Dell went on to become one of the most successful computer companies in the world because of their follow-up support and trouble-free ownership. Another non-price factor is responsiveness, is fast repairs, fast assistance, regular callbacks. I'll give you an example. Federal Express letters cost 10 times as much as first-class postage. And yet Federal Express is a $60 billion company, and hundreds of thousands and millions of people send their letters and materials through Federal Express. Why? Because they're fast, and they're quick, and they're dependable, and they give regular callbacks, and you can count on Federal Express. Do you know what Federal Express has initiated, and I think UPS has it as well, is once you send a package, they give you a tracking number. And you can put the tracking number into your computer, and it will tell you exactly where the product or service is anywhere in the world. It will tell you if it's on a truck or on a plane or it just got off the truck and how far it is away from delivery. Most amazing thing. Let me tell you a quick story. A friend of mine asked me to send him something, and so I sent it to him by Federal Express. And I sent it late in the day, but it got in there. And he called me up the next day, and I had gotten the message late, so he said, "Where is it? I need it." I said, "Well, let me check." And I said, "Well, according to my computer, the Federal Express man is just walking into your office right now." And my friend was on the phone and looked up, and there was the Federal Express guy with the package. Do you think that's good for follow-up and subsequent business? Now, there are values that the company creates as a result of its marketing activities that lower price resistance. One, for instance, is high-level advertising. This increases the credibility and the perceived value of the product or service. This is why advertising is so important. If people see a product that's been well advertised, they think, well, it must be good. So they'll have a tendency to buy a name product over a no-name product. A second marketing factor that lowers price sensitivity is an excellent reputation in the marketplace. This increases the perceived value of what you sell. Why is it that Apple is so successful today? It's because everybody talks about how good Apple products are. And so people just buy them, and they pay very high prices, and they don't even care because it has such a fabulous reputation. There's another factor where marketing adds value to the product and lowers price resistance, and that's good public relations. That means the company has a good image, the company contributes or supports worthy causes, the company has good sales materials, good artwork, good brochures, and it increases the perceived value of the products or services offered by the company. Another factor that increases value is excellent salesmanship. All top companies that I work with are very, very careful about selecting salespeople and training them 6, 9, 12 months before they allow them to go into the field, because excellent salesmanship that's fast and confident and professional, based on good relationships, increases the perceived value of what you sell. All the best companies hire really nice people and train them to be very good in selling. Now, price concerns for your product or service diminish with 3 factors that you can create in the sales conversation. First of all, you can create high desirability. The more the customer desires or wants your product or service, the less concerned he is about price. So here's the rule. Always focus on value and good reasons and benefits for the customer rather than arguing about the price. A second factor that helps increase the attractiveness of your product is scarcity. When you only have a limited quantity of your product or service or the product at these prices, price concerns decline. What does this mean? It means that the product is really popular. And you say, this is one of our most popular products and it sells out all the time. So we don't have very many left. That dramatically lowers price sensitivity. And another factor is urgency. When the customer really wants or needs your product or service, price diminishes dramatically in importance. If you can create enough buying desire, or if the customer has a situation where they really need it, they will pay any price. It's sort of like buying the last seat on an aircraft when you've got to be in a certain place. My daughter had this recently, and there was only one seat on the plane, and it was first class. And the first class seat cost twice as much as a normal seat, but she had to pay it because it was the only seat available to get to her destination. So you have to develop an ongoing strategy for winning the price wars in your market. And here's your strategy. First of all, offer an easy, problem-free relationship. I go to different restaurants at times, and some restaurants you go to, they ask you if you can come earlier or come later, or they're busy or they're full or something else. The best restaurants that I work with, when I call them up, they say, yes, come immediately, come whenever you like. They offer an easy relationship, so whenever I decide to go to a restaurant, I think, do I call the restaurant where I'm going to have to argue and negotiate with a person, or I just call the restaurant that will give me a table right away? Make it easy for people to deal with you. Emphasize reliability and dependability. And the way you do that is you do things quickly. Customers love it when you do things fast. I'm going to give you the best words that you can use to increase your sales and customer satisfaction. And they are the words, sure, right away. Sure, right away. I need this, or I have this problem. We'll take care of it right away. I'll call you back right away. I'll send someone out right away. It's the most wonderful thing for customers in a period where people are very impatient and have no patience at all for delays. Be consistent and predictable at all times. They say the most important ability in business is dependability. The most important value you can offer is consistent value, consistent quality, consistent prices. Remember, we said before that Walmart is the most successful retail business in history worldwide. Why is that? Because they offer everyday low prices and quality items that they unconditionally guarantee. So you can go to Walmart whenever you want to buy anything, and their product, their service, and their quality, and their prices are all consistent all the time at every store. It's made them one of the biggest success stories in history. React quickly to the needs and concerns of customers. Remember, if you react quickly to a customer concern, you build great loyalty with that customer and cause them to come back over and over. If you react slowly to a customer concern, you reduce loyalty and often cause the customer to walk away and never come back. Give short delivery times and emphasize speed. It's absolutely amazing how many companies, by reorganizing, can transform their business by delivering their product faster than anybody else. You should always be looking for ways to shorten the amount of time that you spend servicing your customers. Remember, each customer today has a need for speed, and they will patronize those companies that take care of them faster than anyone else. Another way to sell on non-price issues is for you to demonstrate your knowledge and competence. Because if you are more knowledgeable and more competent about your product and about how it can help the customers place a higher value on it. So be a consultant and be an advisor to your customer. Be a helper. Teach your customer how they can most benefit. This dramatically raises the perception of value and lowers the concern about price. In the field, make regular and predictable sales calls and follow-ups. Customers love it if once you have sold them a product or service, you drop by on a regular basis. And what I would always do is I would ask my customer, how often would you like me to stay in touch with you? How often would you like me to call? And how often would you like me to visit you personally? And customers will say, well, if you gave me a call once every 2 weeks and drop by once a month, that'd be really great. And so you simply put that into your calendar and you do that on a regular basis. Sometimes a small customer who buys a small amount can turn into a large customer if you take good care of them. Another thing you can do is offer a total product or service line, what we call one-stop shopping with you and your company. So instead of offering one thing or one product, offer everything a customer needs in that area. One of my clients is a company called Allstate Legal Supply. The founder of the company used to sell stationery, knocking from door to door. Very nice man. What he found was the customers he liked working with were law firms. So he decided he would start his own company and he would only offer products and services that law firms needed. Jump ahead 20 years, He is selling $1 billion a year, the biggest company in America that only services law firms. Every piece of stationery, every desk, every computer, every bookshelf, every piece of carpet, anything that a law firm needs other than the lawyers, this company supplies. Law firms go to this company first and second and only, and it's made him one of the richest men in America. Explain the exact reasons for your prices. When people say, why does it seem to cost more? Why do your competitors cost less? Explain why you charge more and the breadth and depth of your quality and service, and why it's very much in the interest of your customer to pay more because they get so much more. If possible, if feasible, offer technical education. Offer backup on what you sell. If you have a product that has technical requirements, offer 24-hour service if you can, or service 7 days a week, or service very quickly if something breaks down. Now, before we finish, there are 7 preference categories that determine purchase decisions and purchase behavior in descending order of importance. In other words, the very first is the most important to the customer, the next is the second most important, and so on. Now, the first of all is what we call personal preferences. People value and pay more for things that they like, that they feel better about, that gives them a better experience, that triggers their emotions, that makes it more enjoyable. Give you a perfect example. There's lots and lots of cruise ships. Disney, a few years ago, decided to get into the cruise ship business. So they developed a cruise ship experience for parents with children that is absolutely extraordinary. By the time you get on the ship, which is more expensive than other cruise ships, you are so happy, and your children are so happy, and the food is wonderful, and the service is terrific, and the ships are clean and beautiful and well built. What they realize is that making their customers emotionally happy is more important than cutting costs or lower quality of the product or service. Another type of preference is what was called an operational preference. This is the impact of your product or service on the prospect's life or work. When you can show that your product or service is really going to help the customer live better or do their job better or be more satisfied or more productive, people will pay a lot of money for that. The third type of preference is called a functional preference. And this is how your product or service actually works or performs. You see, if your product or service works easily, works consistently, and the customer can use it quickly and readily, then customers are much more likely to buy it. Like this special control I have for my swimming pool and my jacuzzi. Before, I had to go out and put on several buttons and switches and turn gauges in order to make my pool and jacuzzi work. Now I have a little box, and I just punch the box from anywhere in the house. Punch, 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 and the jacuzzi goes on, the light goes on, the jets go on, the whole thing works in a matter of seconds. It's almost like being a kid at Christmas at looking and playing with this thing. When we sell our house, and we eventually will, we'll say, look at this. Sometimes the person, if they like a pool and a jacuzzi, will buy the house just because of this incredibly modern device that we have. Now, another preference is called a result preference. And the result preference is the tangible event or condition that your product or service creates for the customer. In other words, what results does the customer get when they use your product? If you can get results that people want, then customers are going to buy and use your product over and over again. Let me give you an example. I produced a sales program some years ago called The Psychology of Selling. It became the best-selling audio program on sales in the world in 24 languages. Why? Because it showed salespeople, many of whom were struggling, exactly how to sell more, faster, better, easier, in less time. And you know what? It worked. And we sold more of that program, The Psychology of Selling, than all other sales programs on audio in the history of the world. Because why? Because it really got results. Sometimes if you can show that your product or service gets far better results than anybody else's, you can charge anything you want. Another factor that we call a preference is the attributes. This is the unique selling proposition specifically that your customer remembers. It's the special thing about your product or service that makes it different or better from any other product or service and makes it much more desirable to buy and dramatically lowers price sensitivity. I had a friend and he was looking at buying a car, and he looked at several cars and he finally test drove a Lexus. And he was thinking about buying a different car until the salesman asked him, "How important is music to you?" "Well, my friend loves music. He goes to concerts. He goes to orchestras. He has a beautiful music collection." He said, "Do you know that this car has 8 speakers and that when you sit in this car with the door closed, it's like sitting in a symphony orchestra or theater?" And he said, I couldn't believe it. He said, "Let me show you." And he got a piece of classical music on CD, got into the car, closed the door, and said, "Listen to this." And my friend just, "Wow, this music is so beautiful. You can hear every note and every instrument." He bought the car. He paid $65,000 when he could have bought a car for $35,000 or $45,000 because of the one factor that Lexus offered in their music system that nobody else had. Now, there's also the comparative preference, the way that you position your product or service against your competitors that makes your product or service look superior. And finally, there's the price preference, the meaning of the cost relative to other things available to the customer. Yes, Mr. Customer, you could buy a lot of different things or you can buy other products, but look at what you get with the money you spend here compared to how you would spend the money somewhere else. Remember, price is always relative to value as it is perceived by the customer. Price is a measure of his or her wants or needs and the intensity of them. Price is a function of his or her desire for what you're selling. If people really want it and really need it, their price sensitivity goes down. So the key is focus on areas where you can win against your competitors. Focus on the things that your product or service offers that create far greater value in your customer's mind and lower their price sensitivity. Your job in the sales conversation is to shift the focus of attention off the price and onto the specific values and attributes that your product or service offers to the customer. Most sales are not made on the basis of price, but on the basis of other things. Your job is to find out what they are and to emphasize them throughout the sales conversation. Now, here are some questions you can ask and answer to apply these ideas to your sales activities. First, give 3 reasons why your higher priced product or service is superior to a lower priced competitor. This is the inner game of selling. Number 2, what are the 3 most important attributes that are more important than price and that are more responsible for your sales against lower priced competitors? Number 3, what 3 values does your company create or offer that add to the perceived value of your product or service? What is it that you do differently that makes your product or service more desirable? Number 4, what 3 activities could you engage in to increase the perceived value of your products or services when you interact with your customers? Number 5, what 3 benefits do you offer that you can emphasize to reduce price concerns in a sales conversation? Number 6, what are the 3 most important preference categories to your customers in determining their purchase decisions? Number 7, what 3 ways can you better position your product or service against your competition to make your product or service appear more attractive and valuable to your customers? And finally, what 1 action are you going to take immediately as a result of what we've talked about in focusing on non-price issues in the sales conversation?